The next question. Should Grand Lodge have an executive committee to manage the business side of Grand Lodge? Brother Coffman.
Grand Lodge, just as our individual lodges, have a business side and the fraternal side. The concept of having a committee to run the business side of Grand Lodge seems to be contrary to our ancient landmarks. The Grand Master is the one who makes those decisions. Currently, and if I were in that position, I would continue this. All the electeds work very closely with the Finance Committee to run the business side of Grand Lodge. The Grand Master, which comes with the territory, has to make those ultimate decisions. But that give and take, that discussion among the electeds and the Finance Committee and anybody else the Grand Master would like to include, facilitate that kind of decision. The chief executive officer of a corporation makes the final call on most things. Board of directors may deal a little bit different. But I would not encourage the formal setting up of a committee to manage the business side, rather to use our existing structure to allow a committee to facilitate and inform the Grand Master on how best to make whatever decisions the Grand Master needs to make.
Brother Wood.
I believe right now we do have basically a committee that oversees the financial aspects of Grand Lodge, and that's called the Committee on Finance, which I'm a member of. We meet every month, probably one of the more active committees in Grand Lodge, to go over the financial statement that is put out by our Grand Secretary / Treasurer, as per se, to ensure that Grand Lodge is operating within its budget. That is our purpose. Plus, we oversee the financial investments and so on of Grand Lodge. So as far as forming a committee to do that again, I wouldn't be in favor of it, because I think we have one. Maybe what we should do is expand the role of the Finance Committee. Give them more to do, like going out and doing audits and so on when requested, or when there is a lodge that has a problem financially, to go out and help them. Because most of the members that are on the Finance Committee have strong financial backgrounds and investment backgrounds and so forth. And we work very close together. Very little discussion goes on as far as quarreling goes, because we have one objective, and that is to ensure that Grand Lodge is operating within the budget that we approved at the communication. When things are out of alignment, we question the Grand Master. We question the Grand Secretary. We are Grand Lodge's oversight. The Finance Committee is. We operate along the same guidelines, you might say, as what the committee that oversees Washington Masonic Charities. They're called something different, but again, they review their financial statements, their goals, everything. We have that right now in place, and I don't think we need to create another hierarchy to do something that is already being done. And I would not encourage it, but maybe what we need to do is expand the role of the Finance Committee, which is currently in place, maybe add another member or two to it if we're going to expand their role. But why go out and reinvent the wheel when we already have the wheel? The wheel's not broken, but we can improve on it by expanding their role. Thank you very much.
And Brother Tupper.
I would like to see our Finance Committee, along with a few more people, turn into what's called a Board of Governors. We would not be the first Grand Lodge to do so. Board of Governors puts the budget together. They put it before the Grand Lodge, and they see that it's adhered to. They oversee all of it. No monies can be expended without them overseeing it. And I think that that would be really the way for us to go in the future. Things are going to get more and more convoluted as time goes by, and we need people in place that are not going to be the ones that are actually out here promoting fraternalism and running the whole thing, to keep track of all of these little nuts and bolts that have to be kept track of, and that's where a Board of Governors would come in. Thank you.
And Brother Beers,
Could you restate the question, please?
certainly. Should Grand Lodge have an executive committee to manage the business of Grand Lodge?
So my interpretation of that question is that you want to create a committee specifically for that activity. So a group, much like we have a finance committee and a jurisprudence committee, we're talking about an executive committee. I don't think at this time I'm in favor of creating a committee of that nature. For all practical purposes, the Grand Lodge already has an executive committee. It's the 3 elected principal officers plus the elected secretary. And it's run primarily the same way that our lodges are run, with the principal officers and the secretary and treasurer responsible for the business side of running things. Now, they should be running that to a certain extent in partnership with the temple board if they own a building. So you have that awareness of the finances and what's happening in the structure of which you are, even though technically you're sort of a wholly owned subsidiary. But that's part of the job. That's part of your commitment. That's part of what you stepped up to do when you went into this role, is to provide that governance and that leadership. I think this is an area that we definitely need to explore more. There's a lot of good ideas. A board of governance is something that we should definitely talk about as a Grand Lodge. It's something, expanding the finance committee for their general responsibilities. These are great ideas, and these are things that I hope that we continue to dialogue and we continue to explore. But at this time, I would expect that the elected officers fulfill that obligation and those duties, since that is the expectation as part of the role. The biggest drawback to this structure, and you see it in your lodges, and it's just reflected in the Grand Lodge because this is how we run our business, is continuity. It's hard to get a long-range plan. It's hard to plan 3, 5, 10, 50 years when the head of the organization changes every year. And that's by design. It has its pros and cons, and that's something we could talk about at another time. But in general, I think there's a lot more dialogue and discussion to be had here, but at this time, no, I would not be in favor of forming an executive committee to run the business side.
Thank you.